everyone, and welcome to another episode of Mind, Body, and Roots. Today I've got the pleasure of introducing a long-term mentor of mine, Dr. Jose Gill. We met 2015, Jose, now? 2014? I can't remember.
Was it that long ago?
Yeah,
Maybe it was. Yeah,
it's
maybe
been
2016. Yeah.
yeah, it's been over a decade. I was barely starting my dental school journey. I actually wasn't in at that point. But this man has been one of my biggest inspirations. He's opened up a beautiful new office in my hometown of Allentown, Pennsylvania. He's like working on 1,000 things. And honestly, I feel like I get half my energy from this guy. So without further ado, Jose, please introduce yourself and kind of talk about what you do.
Thank you, man. Thank you for that introduction. Yeah, my name is Dr. Jose Gill. I am the founder and owner of Hamilton Dental Designs in Allentown, Pennsylvania. It's a startup practice that I began with my wife in 2016, and we're celebrating our 10-year anniversary now. And there's been a lot of ups and downs with that practice and kind of growing and the growing pains that go into it. And I'm happy to talk about all of that as well if you want. But I don't know. As for me personally, you were mentioning you're from your hometown is Allentown. I've lived in the Lehigh Valley now in the Allentown area since 2013. It's the year that I got married. But I actually grew up in Florida and I did all of my kind of formative years there. I graduated from high school in 2000. And then I moved up to Boston. I did my undergraduate studies at Boston College. I graduated with a degree in music and a minor in chemistry. And I remember you had somebody on the podcast a little while ago mentioning that she said that she wishes that she had done something a little bit different in college. And
Yeah.
the difference between me and her is that I realized that about halfway through my freshman year, because I went in bio pre-med or bio pre-dent, and I decided, you know what, I'm gonna just change my major. So I graduated with a degree in music because I play piano. I played piano since I was about 10 years old. And then I went to dental school. I went to Tufts University right after college, and I graduated from Tufts University in 2012. I did a GPR in Peoria, Illinois, in the Midwest for a year. I just basically decided to go somewhere a little bit different. And by then I had gotten engaged and I moved back to Pennsylvania, and we've been here ever since. I was an associate for about 3.5 years, and I opened my practice, like I said, in 2016, and we've been trucking along ever since.
Very cool. Very awesome. And I think the biggest thing is, Jose, like I did I did something similar to you too. Like I was just like, I can't do science, man. So I went into business. It's because like that's just how my mind works, right? And I was like minor in sciences, but it was the best decision I made. It just makes me think differently, and that's what music does for you.
Yeah, for sure. I think people can be very myopic when it comes to the health sciences. People who end up in dentistry and in medicine, and it makes a lot of sense. They're usually very science oriented people, right? So biology majors, chemistry majors, and even if they're not, they're people who at the very least they know that they want to go into the health field. So it's almost like they forego the idea of exploring other avenues and other things while they're in college. And it's hard because you'll already have your hands so full just with the practice or the pre-med and pre-dent classes that you're going to need. But man, it sure makes you a lot more interesting of an applicant if you can say, well, I studied, American history, or I have a music major, or I don't know, majored in, physics, something that's a little bit more off the beaten path, I guess, than just bio or chem. Not that there's anything wrong with bio and chem.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just different, and I think different is not a bad thing.
No, and you get so much bio and so much, even chemistry, a little bit of it. Not too much in dental school, but you get enough of it. And like you said, you have to jump through those hoops anyway. I just decided when I was in school, I was like, I'm gonna take music classes. So I would go from orgo to a class on chromatic harmony, and then I'd have counterpoint or arranging, and it was so much fun, man. It really catered to the other half of my brain, the other part of my brain, and I would tell people, anybody who was in high school or college, I would say, don't forget about developing other parts of yourself too, because at the end of the day, that's going to be huge for you later on. You're going to spend enough time doing the medicine and doing the dentistry, but you need to have something else in your life too.
Yeah, Absolutely. Absolutely. So, Jose, you did a startup in 2016. Let's talk about some of the good parts about it, the bad parts about it, any regrets and any changes you would have done in your startup journey.
Man, so much to be grateful for, and at the same time, so many regrets. I look back when I was an associate uh, in 2015. A friend of mine here in the Lehigh Valley came to me and said, "Hey, like 5-10 minutes away from where you live, there's this building, there's this new construction they're putting on the main thoroughfare there on Hamilton Boulevard, and there's like this little 2,200 square feet at the end of the strip mall there. They don't know what to do with it." And I think that you should open your dental office there, because at the time I was traveling to Easton. It was like a 45-minute drive for me to get to work.
Mhm.
It was fun. I liked the office that I worked at and all of that, but there was a part of me, I always knew that I wanted to own my own practice someday. And my wife, who is an endodontist, I kind of glazed over that, but my wife and I met when she was finishing an endo residency at Tufts and I was finishing my fourth year of dental school. And she graded one of my root canals, and then after that, we ended up going out on a date, and now we've got 3 kids, and we own this practice together and all of that. So that's a story, I suppose, in and of itself. But my wife was the one who kind of like, she said, "Yeah, this is it. You've got to do it." And if you know that little corridor of Hamilton Boulevard there, all of that stuff that's across the street wasn't even there yet. I knew it was coming. The Nordstrom rack and the Whole Foods and everything, all the restaurants that are there now and all of that. But it was just farmland. But we knew it was going to be a big deal in that area. So we built it, 16, and I hung up the proverbial shingle, no patients, and I just opened my door. I had 2 employees. One of them was my front desk lady, and the other person was my hygienist and my assistant. And I had room for 5 ops, but I had only outfit 3 of them. And I spent a lot of my time, sitting around, staring at the phone, waiting for the phone to ring, and just figuring things out, man. There's a lot of regret, because knowing what I know now, there's so many things I would have done differently. But they're growing pains and they're experiences. And I guess the thing I'm most grateful for is that I've survived all of it. I've survived it. I honestly have thought to myself, I should probably, at some point, once I really get my head above water with everything, do like a consulting business and just basically be like, here's the book. These are all of the mistakes that I made. Don't do anything that I did. Do the opposite most of the time, and you'll do it a lot quicker and with a lot less headache. But it was organic. Man. It was organic growth, and in the same vein that I say I made every single mistake, if you would have told me 10 years ago, when I was just getting ready to open the office, "Hey, Jose, in 10 years, you'll be in a different building down the street, bigger, with room for more ops. You're going to have 2 associate dentists. Your wife's going to work with you full time." I would have been like, "That's absurd. Like, that's the craziest thing I've ever heard in my life. There's no way that that's going to happen in 10 years." One of my favorite sayings is, I think this is a Tony Robbins quote. I'm not entirely sure, but people will overestimate what they can do in 1 year, and they will severely underestimate what they can do in 10 years. And in a
Mhm.
decade, long time, man. And it's crazy how much stuff changes in that time. But
Very cool.
yeah.
Honestly, Jose, I kind of knew it. I was like, he's gonna move offices and it's gonna be better. Like when I used to shadow as a student, I was like, he's going somewhere. And that's why like I used to just come back and like pick your brain. And that's why I still pick your brain about a lot of cases. I'm like, Jose, how would you do this? You can just see that drive in certain people. And I was like, yeah, he's gonna do something awesome. So I just knew. So I just stuck around. I was like, I'm just gonna pick his brain and just learn from him.
Well, man, I suppose maybe you would have had a better perspective on that than me, because you were able to see it from the outside in. And I'll tell you, there's so much that goes into it from the inside out. Um, it really, I don't ever want to dissuade anybody from practice ownership, because in my mind, I think it's the best thing. I think it's better than having dentistry kind of turn into what medicine has started to turn into. You can see evidence of that in dentistry, DSOs and corporate dentistry. There's Wall Street money in dentistry now in the last 20 years, 25 years, that didn't used to exist. It's just not really mom and pop anymore. But
Yeah.
man, there's absolutely still a place for private ownership. And I would certainly never dissuade somebody from doing it, because I think that that's the best way. I really do. But it's not for everybody. My
Hmm.
sister, my sister's a dentist. She graduated 5 years after me. She's an associate at a practice in Tampa. And you know what? That works for her. She's been there for years and years. She loves it. She loves being able to go home and not have to think about the business side of things. And that can be a blessing too, man. It really can. But I will say being able to do it my way, being able to do dentistry at my pace, really do the things that I want to do. And everybody says, oh, you come and work at this place or that place and you can do your cases your way. You can see the patients that you want to see and do the procedures that you want to do. But we all know that it doesn't necessarily always turn out that way. So having that full control it can be very difficult. It is not an easy road, but I would encourage dentists to think about it.
Yeah. And I've been talking to people and I tell people, I'm like, what's the one thing that you're missing? And I say it very honestly, it's autonomy. Like autonomy as a dental surgeon and as a dentist, it's the most important thing and it's extremely underrated. Like people say, come here for this 100K job or 500K job, and it's all nice and it works. But does that mean that I have full autonomy? And that's where it gets tricky because and that's what happened to doctors is that they are owned by the hospitals now and administrators, and that's the last thing I want to see happen in dentistry, but it is happening slowly. You might make less, but as long as you have your autonomy you will be able to make more as you progress through your career. At least that's what I've seen.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the big fight right now. I think in all of the health field is who runs the show, who should be handling the business aspect of things. But there is nothing at all fake about the idea that owning a practice will make you own your craft more. I think that there's absolute truth to that. Not to discount the efforts or the work that I put in as an associate working for somebody else. I'm happy about that, and I had so much growth in those first few years out of school. But when you are part of a practice that you have ownership in, your patient base, it's not just the dentistry itself, it's everything about how things are communicated to the patients. It's everything about how the patients are treated, how you want that experience to go, and what you want people to say about the business, about the practice when they leave. There's something that goes into that. And by the way, don't discount the feeling that you have when you can hire people and provide for them a living, a way to make money and provide for their own families. And, my team now there's 15 people that work in my office now when you include me and my wife. And I love that. I love being able to have that work environment for my assistants, for my hygienists, for my front desk, and for my other couple of associates, so we're a family, and that there's so much reward in that. I actually remember seeing once the practice really started to take off, I said, I think I'm more proud of the fact that I've been able to grow a a successful business. I'm more proud of that maybe than when I even got my degree from dental school. I think it's because I didn't even know what I was doing, but it's taken so much effort and it's continual. It's like a child. It's like something that you have to nurture day after day, month after month, and year after year. And then you watch it grow and evolve and develop. And that work, by the way, never really fully stops, no matter
Hmm.
what anyone tells you.
Makes sense. Honestly, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So, if you could go back in time, what would you change? What's the one big thing you would change about this entire journey?
I think it's tough because having regret is an easy thing to feel when you think about some of the mistakes that you made as you went along. But then there's a lot that you learn from those mistakes.
Hmm.
And you can't discount the idea that maybe you would have if you didn't make that mistake when you made it, maybe you would have made the mistake in a bigger way down the line where it would have cost you more. But I would say that one of the biggest things was maybe realizing when my practice was growing to the point where I needed to start to change my systems. This is a problem that a lot of startup practices have when the growth is, let's say, exponential and gradual at the same time. So my practice grew, from 2000, I opened in November of 2016, and 2017, 2018, 2019, 2000, even 2020, the practice just grew almost by 100% year over year. And I got to the point right around 2020, right before COVID hit, actually, where I was like, I need to hire an associate. I need to have another hygienist on board. At that point, it was going to be my third hygienist, and I need another assistant or two. The office is going to have to grow. And when we came back from COVID, the office really took off because, as you know, once the lockdowns ended, there was a ton of dentistry that needed to be done. And it was 2020, on the back end of 2020 and all of 2021, it was like gangbusters. So we got so busy and we got so much bigger than we were. That was around the time that I was getting very serious about buying a property down the street from where I was because I was leasing and I wanted to have equity in my physical space. So we bought the land and then we built a building from the ground up, and that process started in 2021. And that was another thing I completely underestimated. To return to the question that you had, I would say I wish that I would have realized in 2021 and 2022 when things kind of started to plateau a little bit and I started to go through maybe like we'll call it like a rough time because 2022, 2023, and 2024 really were a pretty rough, stressful time from a business perspective for the office. I think I should have realized at some point, hey, your operation now is way bigger than it was. And your systems need to change. There needs to be more formality to some of the things that you're doing. There needs to be more instruction for the group as a whole. You need to spend a little bit less time doing dentistry, and you need to spend a little bit more time being the CEO of your business. And it took me a little while to figure that out. And even now in 2026, there's steps that I'm taking to help me kind of figure out how to increase efficiencies, how to do certain things better. As an owner, that's my job, is to look at things macroscopically from a few steps back and say, hey, where are we right now? And where are we going to be 2, 3 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now? It's so easy when you start as a little startup to just kind of say, well, this is working. It's working. Everything's going fine. I'm just going to kind of keep doing this. And then you realize, well, that 100% growth year over year is not 100% growth anymore. Now it's 50% growth. Then it's 20% growth. And then it's like, you made the same as you made last year. What happened? That's that'll creep up on you. That'll creep up on you. And having the wherewithal to know when you don't know something, I
Hmm.
think maybe the biggest thing that I would say. I wish I would have I wish I would have learned that sooner. It would have
Hmm.
helped me out.
Yeah. It's basically just auditing yourself
Yeah.
aggressively.
100%, 100, auditing myself. I mean, I was so used to looking at my numbers and looking at certain KPIs and seeing things and being like, well, this is good. It's like we're just kind of cruising along here. Things are kind of the way that they've been and all of that. But, business is strange. You could have a year where all of a sudden the business does, man, we did 500, $600,000 better than we did last year. That's fantastic. But what if your overhead increased by that amount? And now you're kind of choked. You're still kind of riding in the same place. This building that we built was a huge undertaking, and it ended up, as every bit of construction does, it ended up taking much longer. What I thought was going to be maybe a year and a half was really like 3.5 years, and it's a lot more expensive. What I thought was going to be X ended up being 3X by the time we were all was said and done, because of the cost of construction, because of the way that we ended up reconfiguring and revisualizing the practice right as we were getting ready to do construction. So like I said, I made all of these mistakes and I learned from them, but I don't know, we've kind of stumbled into a spot where things are still going well, and there's growth, but you need to be brutally honest with yourself when you're
Hmm.
in this kind of doing these sorts of things, because it's very easy to get in your bubble and tell yourself that it's fine when it's not.
Very true. Very true. So, Jose, are you still working towards? I know you were on the path to doing AACD. Are you still on that path? Where's that journey been? Are you doing anything else?
Yeah, so no, that's a good question, and the answer is yeah. I passed my written exam for AACD. I joined the AACD. I think it was in 2020. I think a year later, maybe it was 2 years later, I took the written exam. I got to check now and see when it was. I think I have until 2028 to get through my clinical cases, but I passed the written exam, and so I'm technically kind of on the path to AACD accreditation, which is a very, very difficult thing to do. It's so exceedingly difficult that I just admire people who I know have gone through that process and done it well. It has taken a backseat for me in the last couple of years because of everything else that has gone on with my business, right? Doing the construction, getting the new building up, growing the team, getting into the new building and establishing systems in the new building. So many different things that have required my energy. And I will tell you that when you're talking about something like the American Academy of Cosmetic Dentistry and getting accredited, the case selection process and the rigor with which those cases are judged, the they're so critical of every single thing. Your mind, your headspace has to be in a certain place. You have to have the time and the energy to dedicate to that in order to really be able to nail it. And it's not to say that I have given up on it by any means. I'm certainly still very much. It's still very much a part of kind of what I think motivates me in terms of my growth in my career. And I'd like to kind of see if I can get some cases done this year so that I can start getting ahead of things because like I said, I think I only have a couple more years left in my time frame before I have to start over. But it's a rewarding process. And the other way to look at it too, Ahad, and whether it's the AACD accreditation or anything else that any of these other kinds of certifications is sometimes whether you get there or not, the biggest thing is learning from the process,
Hmm.
right? Everybody who does it, even those people who don't get the accreditation, they say, I just learned so much over those 5 years, just attempting to get it. And it increases the level of your dentistry. I know that I've talked to you a little bit about it because at least I don't know, when you were coming out of school, you were a little bit of a surgery nut like me. I know you love shucking wisdom teeth and replacing implants and doing all that. And man, I still enjoy it, but I fell in love with cosmetics in a big way again right around COVID. I just something about it just snapped with me. And it's weird because you would think that a lot of dentists would just want to do them and those kinds of cases. Sure, they're like high profit margin cases and all of that, but you need so much patience to do it. And I know
Hmm.
a lot of dentists who don't do those kinds of cases because they're honest with themselves and they're like, man, I like doing what I'm doing, and I just I don't have the patience to sit there and really break down every single way that light is reflecting off of this tooth. And understanding how the material choice or the material thickness is going to affect the value of this particular restoration. And they may not have a patient base that is really interested in that sort of dentistry, and that's fine. That's fine too. But it absolutely has affected I think in a positive way the way that I do my work. But I became addicted to it, man, because I remember the first really after I really started taking the right CE and learning and studying and kind of doing all these different things, most of which I did through the AACD. Once I really started nailing some of these makeover cases, seeing the patient's reactions for me was huge. Because this is a problem in dentistry, Odd, is that you could do a beautiful number 19 implant. I mean, you could place the implant, just get that platform, just subcrestal, really nice, tissue adaptation, put a nice, beautiful abutment and crown on there, and you could be so proud of that thing when the patient comes back for a recare 5, 6, 10 years later. But who knows that tooth is there except for you and the patient. And the
Yeah.
patient isn't really thinking about it either. They're like, I can chew. That's great. But man, there's something about doing a smile makeover case and letting somebody see themselves in the mirror and just seeing how that has an effect on them. I did a case for a young guy who was he was a very busy lawyer in town, and he didn't have a particularly great set of teeth, and he wasn't too happy with things. And when I first met him, it looked like he was really just trying to kind of figure things out. And we did his smile, and I saw him for recare like 6 months later, and he came in a suit, and he just looked like a totally different person. Just all the confidence in the world, so happy with himself. And I thought, man, this is what I want to do. Because there's such an appreciation for the art that way and the effort that goes into it. It's very impactful. all of dentistry is very impactful. Don't get me wrong. All of dentistry is very impactful. And dentists know this. They know how important the work that they do is. But I don't know, man. There's like this just selfishness in me that's like, well, I want my patients to appreciate how much I appreciate. So it's that's I think cosmetic dentists can be a little bit we can be like attention hogs sometimes.
I mean, I don't blame you, man, because like I've noticed myself too. It's like I've done like this work and I have my website, and there's like one or two people that like they're still like on my social media that like old patients from like residency, and like I look at like the first thing I look at, I'm like, hey, yeah, he still got that smile. I get him. It looks
Yeah,
good. So I was like,
yeah.
I've never seen him for follow up, but it looks good. So I guess I did an okay job at that time. But I know exactly what you're going through because like I love surgery. I still do. I enjoy it. But I mean, I think I'm starting to become more like you, which I'm not surprised. It's like even with that like the case I showed you that I did, and I was like Jose, I'm just not happy with it, and I'm just. But then you asked me like, was the patient happy with it? I was like, yeah, he loved it. It's like, but I'm not happy. And it's just like that pickiness, that detail. I'm like, I have so much to learn. It's like I think I'll probably end up going towards more of a cosmetic like outlook anyways in the end.
That's a very healthy place to be, Ahad. To when you finish a case, if the patient is thrilled and you're not necessarily thrilled, I mean, you don't want to be super disappointed, obviously, with your work because you will know that something's wrong. But if you look at I have this thing that I talk about with my team, and I say I want to look back at the cases that I did 5 years ago and kind of uncomfortable, be kind of upset, and be like, ugh, I don't know, man. I don't like that. I don't love that. I don't love the what I did here. I don't love the material choice. I don't like this, that, whatever. Because if I look back at my stuff from 3, 4, 5 years ago and I'm uncomfortable with it or I'm not happy with it, well, you know what that says about me? It says that I've raised my standard. It says to me, oh, you know what? You're doing higher quality work now,
Mhm.
and you've raised the bar for yourself. If I look back at something I did 5, 6 years ago at this point in my career anyway, and I'm like, oh man, that is as good of a case as I've ever done. There should be growth. You should look back and think to yourself, I know a little bit more now. I'm a little bit better than I was back then. But you want your patient to be happy. And that's ultimately it. But there's so many levels to this. You can get so deep into the cosmetic aspect of things, tissue conditioning and the gingival zenus and what kind of haloing you're doing on your veneers and the translucencies and all of this stuff. And those are things that maybe you'll appreciate. Another dentist who's looking at your case, whether it's on Instagram or the patient ends up in somebody else's chair somewhere down the line, they'll be like, wow, this is really nice dentistry. That's the funny thing is 98, 99% of people out there are not really going to know the differences. They're not going to see that. They're just not going to be able to appreciate the surface texture that you be sure that the lab technician added into that restoration. So that's something else to keep in mind too.
Yeah, it's I guess they say like the line is beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So in this case it fits nicely.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, but I'm telling you, I really do think like you just said, if the patient's happy and you look at the case or you evaluate it afterwards and you say, okay, I just really wish that I would have done this or that. It's just an organic way of saying I just learned something. I learned something just now when I did this case. And hopefully the case is serviceable for many, many years. And when the time comes, replace it or whatever, like, hopefully it's 20 years down the line, 25 years down the line and do it better the next time, I guess. But you want it to be healthy and you want the patient to be happy at the end of the day. Those are the biggest things, right? So doing that kind of dentistry, by the way, too, on doing that kind of dentistry, if you're doing it right, you are directly fighting against this wave of dentistry that is starting to show up, especially internationally, but even within the States, of over aggressively prepping and killing teeth for the sake of cosmetics. And usually they're not even good cosmetics, right? So cosmetic dentistry and conservative dentistry tend to go hand in hand. That's another great thing about cosmetics is that you learn to appreciate enamel. I think a lot more too, which is very important in all facets of dentistry. But that's the other side of the coin.
That's the other side. That makes sense.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
So, man, so honestly, you and I could probably talk dentistry and stuff for like ages. Like I know like we're like robots.
But yeah,
But my, I guess, transition question in this case would be if there's one piece of advice to someone, or actually to your younger self,
mm.
like say you just graduated dental school and you're looking back, say you graduated 2012, almost 14 years ago. What advice would you give your younger Jose that just graduated as a D4?
If I was giving myself advice at that point in my life, I would say don't worry so much about getting where you're going as quickly as you can.
Yeah.
The path is going to be what it's going to be, and you're going to get there. You're already setting yourself up for success. I think part of the reason why I've kind of been taking the jumps that I've taken in my career and done some of the things that I've done over this last decade, I've done it really out of naivete. Like I just didn't know how challenging it was going to be. And sometimes ignorance is bliss. And then when you're in it, when you're in the thick of it, you're just like, what did I do? This is just so much more stressful and so much more money and so much more of a headache than I thought it was going to be. But you got to enjoy the journey, man. My kids, I've got three kids. You know, my wife and I have three kids. Our kids are 10, 8, and 6. And it's such a great age. You know, they're not like apathetic teenagers yet. And they're also not, we're not running around, changing diapers all the time. Uh, it's just a good it's a good it's a very easy time for the family to just be together and enjoy each other, and the kids enjoy being around us and stuff. And it's hard sometimes. You have all these plans and all these ideas, and you're like, well, this year I'm going to do this, next year I'm going to do that, 3 years from now I'm going to do this, and you forget sometimes to just say, like, hey, you know what, just sit back and take this all in and enjoy it, man. It's a little bit of a rat race out there sometimes, but that's what I would say. Don't rush it, and don't worry about. I think a lot of, especially nowadays, man, people like dentists, because of the way that social media is too, we want to be doing dentistry of a certain caliber and a certain class, and aiming for that is not a bad thing at all. But don't measure yourself against, some world class, periodontist or prosthodontist or cosmetic dentist or whatever, and say, look at how beautiful this work is, or look at how successful this person is or that person is. Keeping up with the Joneses is just an easy way to put more stress on yourself than you need to. And again, just focus on bettering yourself. That's also been it was a little bit of an issue for me, especially early on. You just don't need that stress. You really don't.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think self-reflection and just knowing that, hey, you're your only competition,
Yeah.
and then the famous Navy SEAL saying, the only easy day was yesterday. I think that's it, man. If you understand that and you understand that you're gonna make mistakes, and as long as you attempt to make it right, I think that's like something I reflect on a lot. Like, how can I make my journey in this life like worth it?
Yeah.
And it's just like, just be better every single day, even if
Yeah.
it's like a little bit. That's it.
100%, man. And your podcast is called Mind, Body, and Roots, and I'll tell you, that's another thing I would tell anybody going into this profession, whether you're an owner or an associate or whatever. Dentistry is difficult, man. And there's guys out there like Kyle Stanley, like they're talking a lot about mental health for dentists and saying, hey, listen, like a lot of the work that you're going to do is going to be underappreciated. Sometimes you're just going to look at your schedule and you're going to be like, oh man, it's going to be a rough day, or it's going to be a rough week. We all know what that's like. And dentistry is not it's not easy, and you have to take care of yourself, take care of your body. I mean, I try to work out 4 or 5 days a week, and it doesn't have to be, I'm not trying to deadlift 450 pounds. You don't have to be maxing, the complete opposite. In fact, I mean, dentists know how valuable a good back is, and your hands and all of that stuff. So for me, it's not like heavy compound lifts. I'm trying to do functional fitness. You know what I mean? Good cardio, dumbbell work, kettlebell work. Just get up and get moving. Get a good sweat in there. I do that in the morning before I get ready for work, and it just charges me for the whole day, man. And it allows me to have the energy to be able to go and see a full set of patients, and then also come home and be with my family. And probably the most important thing for me of all is just leaning into my faith and spending time in prayer and in meditation, and that kind of clarity. And that's free. That's free. All you've got to do is just carve out that 10 minutes, 15 minutes a day, and just basically be in that headspace. I'm so locked into routine that, my kids go to bed at a certain time, my wife goes to bed at a certain time, and then I always know, hey, at last, my wife goes to bed really early. She gets up earlier than me, but she goes to bed earlier than me. And I know that last 45 minutes to an hour before I go to sleep, that's my time to get some reading in, or maybe just watch that TV show. Or just it's a time for me to decompress a little bit. So again, it's about kind of getting out of that rat race and being able to make sure that you stay healthy, top to
Yeah,
bottom.
absolutely. And that's why like I decided to do like something like this. Like I think all these little facets of your life are so important, especially the body aspect. Like as dentists, like we don't talk about ergonomics, we don't talk about compound lifts, we don't talk about yoga, we don't talk about stretching. Like all these things are so important because like if you don't take care of yourself, how are you going to take care of your patients or more importantly your family? That's huge. Like I work out, let me think. I work out at least 5 days a week too. Like I don't do it like Tuesday, Wednesday, which is kind of like a random midweek break, which is fine because I know it's like whatever. But then when I don't work and the day after my associate work week is over, I go right in. And it's worth it every single penny. I still do the big compound lifts like 350 or 400. I feel like, are you crazy? And I'm like, yeah, I'm still young enough to do it. I know there's inherent risk to that, but I just do
Yeah,
it for my own like self. Like it's just an ego thing. But then after that, I'm like, okay, I go back to light with stuff. But I do it because I know that if I'm strong, then I can be like a pillar for my community and hopefully my future family. And that's what drives me to do better and keep doing that stuff.
100%, man. 100%. I mean, and everybody, what you listen to your body, right? You know what works for you,
Yeah.
what doesn't work for you, and just know. All right, well, today's a stretch day. Yeah, and I went a little hard yesterday, or whatever, and things change too, right? Because like you're right, the way that I was working out when I was in residency or right after I got out, and I started kind of like I was in my like mid to late 20s versus now when I'm hitting 40 this year. My body's just different. It's not quite the same. And sometimes that difficult workout will take a little bit longer for me to recover from. And so
Yeah.
my oldest kid he's 10, and that it doesn't sound like, that's still, he's very young, but he's a gifted soccer player. He plays academy level soccer. It's amazing. He'll get up with me sometimes in the morning, and we'll do some workouts. We'll do like lunge jumps and this and that, whatever. It's wild, man. We ran a 5K for Thanksgiving. We ran a 5K together, and he's significantly smaller than me. He's actually like small for his age, and I was like, look, man, don't worry about keeping up with me. Just run your race, and it'll be fine. And I'm thinking, like, he'll come in a few minutes after. He smoked me by like almost 5 minutes. Like, it was unbelievable. He just cruised. And you can appreciate when you have kids as they start to get older. Once they start actually being able to physically do some things that you can't do anymore, you're like, wow, man. I don't know whether I should be like really proud or kind of like, I don't know, a little depressed. It's a weird feeling. It's a weird feeling, man. But it's cool too. It's pretty awesome.
It's different. So, Jose, what's like one part of your routine that you think has made you a better dentist? Like what part of your training aspect?
A part of my training has made me a better dentist. Mentorship, yeah, mentorship. I've been blessed, with some great mentors. I've always enjoyed teaching. I think there's some people who just kind of have that bug. I'd love to be able to lecture at some point in my career if I can carve out the time, maybe when my kids are a little bit older. This can be a really lonely profession. Mentorship is important. I've learned just as much from being a mentor to you, as you've learned from me, and talking to dentists that I've talked to through different organizations or people that I talk to on a regular basis. You open your mind to so many different things, and it's a good way of kind of alluding back to what I was saying before. You don't know what you don't know, right? So it's a good way of kind of getting the perspective of people who've been there, that have that wisdom and can help you kind of maybe take some shortcuts. Not in a bad way, but just basically say, hey, look, these are all the mistakes that I made. Now you don't have to make them because I've already made them for you. But I have a very special mentor. He's just a huge inspiration to me the last several years, and he's also given me opportunities to do things like I'll be at the American Academy of Restorative Dentistry conference here in February, and that's invitation only, and I'm going because he basically was gracious enough to get me a guest invitation to go, and that's those sorts of things are really cool. I think about some of the biggest things that I some of the best decisions I've made in my career, taking certain kinds of CE, deciding to do or not do certain kinds of cases. And a lot of those decisions I made because I had the wisdom of somebody else in my ear. And so I would say mentorship is huge, huge.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I wouldn't be where I am today. Like, I remember I'd show up to like a course, like for example, like the Mish Resnick Institute. Well, that's the Resnick Institute. And
Yeah,
I'd be like the youngest one there, and it was like, "When did you graduate?" And I was like, "Ah, it's like 6 months ago." They're like, "What? Like, why are you here?" I was like, "Oh, my mentor told me," and it was like
yeah,
amazing. And it's
yeah,
just like, yeah, like wow, that's like even I think it was Randy. He was like, "How old are you?" And I'm like, "Ah, like 27." And he's like,
yeah,
"What?" like most of
yeah,
my average be like 35,
yeah,
36.
yeah,
Yeah, it's just
yeah,
like it's wild. I mean,
yeah. Well,
I
no,
just
that's
show
it,
up to
man.
like things and I'm almost always the youngest one. But now it's like I've noticed that now I'm not that young anymore, as I once was, I guess, quote unquote. Um, but like it's really funny to see that. I was just like, man, I really was just going out there and just going for it. But it's cool. It's just different. Like, but I wouldn't be there if it wasn't for people like you, like being my mentor and like telling me, hey, just go do this. Like, yes, it's expensive, but it is worth it. And I'm very grateful for that.
Man, it makes me so happy to hear you say that too. Like for instance, what year did you graduate, Hot?
22.
You graduated in 22. So this is like your fourth year out. Like, man, I think about some of the CE that you've already done, some of the things you've already done, and I think to myself, man, he's killing it. You're killing it, man. Those first 10 years of your career are so impactful. And it goes by in a flash, but there's so much stuff that you can fit in there. And when you do it right and you take the right CE and you learn from the right people, man, dude, it all clicks. You're setting yourself up for a ton of success. But that's exactly the point, right? So, do that. Take those courses. Yeah, you can't afford them. And, it's like, I take time out of the office to do this. And it's super expensive. And I got to travel. And yeah, man, but there's a reason why they charge that. There's a reason why everybody talks about it. It's because it's that good. There's educators. And then there's people who like are really, really, really gifted educators. And you want to learn from the best.
You're going to have to, there's got to be some, I guess, sacrifice from your end. So
Yeah.
that's
Yes.
really what it comes down to.
Yeah.
What is on your plate, Jose? Like, what are you going to take next? What are you thinking about taking next?
I am thinking. Sorry, the light's coming in here now all of a sudden. I am thinking that, well, like I said, I want to focus. I want to focus a little bit more on my AACD journey, uh,
Mm-hmm.
if I can, here over the course of the next couple of years. I've done some work in biomimetics with the Alleman Institute or the Alleman Center out in Utah. Those guys are awesome. And it's great to learn about some, I think, better ways to treat teeth that are more conservative. But, there's still very much a place for occlusion curriculum, Dawson Academy, Pankey Institute, Spear Education, Cois, and there's a place for all of that stuff. And I've delved into it. I've kind of like I've dipped my toes into some of those things a little bit here and there, but I'd really like to be able to get into kind of more full fledged. I think taking the curriculum A to Z in some capacity in one of those schools. And it's never too late to do that too. I mean, like we said, I'm 14 years into this journey now, but there's always something to learn. That's a huge commitment in and of itself. But I'd like to do that. I'd like to probably spend some time doing that. And I'm honestly really really excited because this year I've got I have an outside consultant coming to help me with my office with my practice, and it's a dentist. She's a dentist, and I think she checks all the boxes, man. I think she's going to be fantastic for me and my growth and the practice's growth. I think she's going to really help my team. But like I was saying to you earlier, there's a part of me that has to continue to grow, not just as a dentist, but also as a CEO. And I think that that's what she's going to probably help me out with the most. So, in the immediate future, I would say my AACD journey and helping me to navigate, I think, the practice now as it's grown into what it finally is, which is way different than what it was 10 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. I mean, that's awesome, Jose. And I think it's like you're one of those people that's just like you reflect on what you need to do and then you just go out and do it and then you just learn from it and it's pretty cool.
there's a there's always going to be reasons to not do something, Ahad. Always, right? Like it's not the right time. I don't have the money. I've got these other problems and things like that. But if it's that important, if it's that front and center in your mind, man, you've gotta tackle it. That's how you grow. That's how you grow. I mean, the people who put it off will find themselves 10, 15, 20 years later being like, oh, I'm kind of like winding down my career now, and maybe I guess I just missed the opportunity. I missed the window. There's no point in doing that now, and then they never do it. But, so yeah, you could say all the right things. I'm big when it comes to setting goals for myself. I set yearly goals. I think I've told you that before. I start every year usually writing down, and you have to write it down. I usually will write down 4 or 5 things, concretely measurable things that will I'll say I'm going to do this year. I'm going to do that, do this. And most of those things should be relatively audacious. They should be things that, are like, man, how can I do that? And then go out and surprise yourself. Go out and see where you are 365 days later and be like, wow, we did that. We did that. Or we got super close to doing that, which is oftentimes just as good. You know what I mean? And how else are you going to grow, man?
Yeah.
How else are you going
Makes sense. And I picked up that habit from you because like I'm looking at my board right there. Like I have it like right next to my bedroom door and it's got like 4 different boxes and it's like, have I been doing all these things? And I'm like, some of these things are pretty good. Like if you don't write it down, it's never gonna happen.
hold yourself accountable, man? Write it down, put it in a place where you have to look at it every single day. And it's like, it'll hit you like a brick. You'll get sick of looking at it, but it's a constant reminder. And, develop good habits. Like we said, you know, spend time exercising, get good sleep, get yourself in shape and then keep yourself in shape.
Mm-hmm.
Once you're in shape and you've got the habits, it's a lot easier. You just keep doing what you've been doing, and it's smooth, man. But it will make everything else in your life so much easier, man. Honestly, having good mental headspace, spiritual space, like I said, I mean, like,
That's huge.
is a big deal for me. And then knowing that your body is in good form too, man. That's how that you get this stuff done. And you're about to start your own family, man. And
Yeah.
that's the other thing too. You hold yourself accountable, and like, hey, it's going to be a little bit easier for me to do that because there's people that depend on me, right? My spouse is going to depend on me. My kids are going to depend on me, and I've got to make sure I'm ready for that. So
Yeah.
you are, man. You are. I'm so proud of you, dude. I think what you're doing is awesome. So you're on
Thank you,
track.
Jose. I
Yeah,
appreciate it, man.
yeah.
So let's start with the last part of the podcast. It's the roots. So you said you grew up in Florida. Now, what was that like? What was the diversity like? What are things you learned from growing up there? And when you moved to Boston, was there a big shift in that mentality and change from when you grew up?
Yeah, it's weird. In a lot of ways, I still think of Florida as home, even though I haven't lived there since 2004. But, my parents are still there. My sister and my brother-in-law and my niece and nephew are down there. So we go down there pretty often. My family, my parents are from the Dominican Republic. My father was born in New York, but he grew up in the Dominican Republic. And all my aunts and uncles, my grandparents are down there. So I grew up with a very strong cultural tie to um, the Dominican Republic, and I'd spend a lot of my summers down there in Santiago and Santo Domingo. I speak fluent Spanish, but I'm very much American. I was born in Philadelphia. I grew up in Florida. My childhood was very blessed. I mean, my father's a physician, he's a neurologist, and my mother was a homemaker, even though she also went to medical school. And so it was just a great idyllic childhood, man. And I had a sister who I'm still very close with. My love for dentistry, I think, stemmed from the fact that on my dad's side of the family, he's a physician, but he's actually the black sheep of the family because his mother, his father, his grandfather, his great uncles are all dentists. In fact, my grandmother was the first female dentist in the Dominican Republic. Yeah, yeah. And so my grandfather was a professor at the dental school. My grandmother's got her name actually on a wing of one of the dental schools. But like they're pretty well known. It's pretty well known down there. But that was it was kind of in my blood, I guess. And I grew up, like I said, I played the piano when I was growing up and doing other things. And I was a very tactile person. I like working with my hands. So I always knew like I'm going to do something that involves. I thought if I go into medicine like my dad, I'm going to do surgery because I just need to constantly be doing something. I can't sit behind a desk writing prescriptions or taking notes. Like it's just not the way that I am. But dentistry fit the mold for that, right? I mean, you get to do microsurgery every single day. That's what dentistry really is. All these procedures. But yeah, I mean, growing up in Florida was great. Different. It's a different culture, only in that there's so many things that like you can appreciate as a Floridian that I liked the beach enough, but man, I think I probably took, for instance, sunlight for granted. The fact that we just get so much sun down there all year round. This time of year, I'd love to be in Florida. January, February is great. In the summer, it's brutally hot, and that's why I was like, I got to get out of here. I can't live here anymore. Where I grew up in Florida, it was actually I grew up on the southwest coast of Florida. It's like a little retirement town. Most people there were in their 70s. So there really wasn't a whole lot to do. When I graduated from high school, I was like, I want to go somewhere where there's more energy and kind of explore the world a little bit. And so that's why I went to Boston. I loved my time at Boston College. Four of my very best friends I met the first week that I was there in Boston. I think for a lot of people that are in dentistry, they'll typically say that the best friends that they ever made, they made in college and or in dental school. You're meeting a lot of people that the same intellectual capacity, the same interests, the same I don't know, I guess aspirations, so to speak. And so those were some great years of my life, man. Dental school was fine. It was it's a little bit like being in a 4-year war, just going through it with people. And you graduate from dental school, and you're like, we're all veterans together. We all kind of did it. We finally we survived this war. But you keep those ties. I still have text message chains with my college buddies. We try to get together once a year, and I still have a text chain that I love that text chain even more, but it's my dental school friends because we're constantly just talking back and forth about different things that happened in the office, some patient that we saw that like this or that or whatever. And everybody laughs because we all have the same. Everybody has the same experiences, right? The same challenges, the same headaches, the same things that make us happy. So I loved my time in Boston. It was just so cool. Yeah, I mean, I met my wife there. My time in Illinois, I think maybe like your time in Missouri now was great for me because it was a year that I was able to I didn't know very anybody out there when I moved there other than my three other co-residents that we just basically did clinic together. It was a very small program that I was in, but that was such a great year for me because I had just finished all of this work in dental school and being around so many people all the time that I spent this whole year right before I got married getting myself in shape, going back to reading, eating right, getting good habits established for myself. And, by the time I moved to Pennsylvania and married my wife and then started kind of getting out into the real world and working as a dentist, I kind of felt like, okay, I've got myself in a routine and a rhythm now. I'm ready to kind of tackle being a full-fledged adult grown up who can, I guess, hold a job and take care of a family and all of that stuff. So that time alone, I think, is actually was in a way a blessing for me, just as much as the other stuff.
Makes sense. Yeah,
Yeah,
I agree with you. I think for me it was like just leaving Pennsylvania after being in New York for so long. I didn't know anybody. I still have very few friends here. Like I've met one or two people, but it's different. So I like it. It's just yeah, it has its challenges, but it's also like pushed me to do things like this podcast and do like random things, and it's kind of cool. It's just different, you
yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah. Oh, you'll, if you, whatever step you take next, I mean, obviously, like you said, you're getting married and all of that stuff, but you're just gonna, I think it's my personal opinion. I think that people tend to get married a little too late these days. So I think it's awesome when people are getting married in their 20s. I think it's awesome. But I still will tell people, make sure you know yourself, right? Like
Yeah.
really know yourself well, and be comfortable with yourself. Know that you're headed, at the very least, you're headed into in the right direction with good habits, because that's going to allow you to be a better spouse. It's going to allow you to be a better person for your family.
Yeah.
But that time is necessary. And it's hard, by the way, for people in our profession to find that time, to find that window of young adulthood where you can just really focus on making yourself better, because we're so focused on graduating from dental school. We're so focused on getting into dental school. All this other stuff, it doesn't even matter. It's like I just got to pull the all nighter. I've got to study. I'll just eat whatever I got, on the way. And I get it. That's a part of life too. But you can get out of dental school and spiral really fast, because the real world is totally different than just spending 6 hours, 7 hours in a classroom and then another 3 or 4 hours in the library studying. Things are very different when you get out of school.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think like the biggest thing is, and you probably have some advice on this. Like I'm 31 now, but if I were to get married like 4 years ago or 3 years ago, I was definitely not ready, like
Yeah,
at all. I was just like, no, I just recently graduated, didn't know what I was doing from left and right. And I'm like, well, now it just makes sense. My question to you is, do you think the old saying is the most important decision in your life you make is who you marry?
100%. I mean, for me anyway. I mean, 100%. It's my wife is everything, and I am the person that I am because my wife made me better in every which way. I made myself, I think, the best. I got myself in shape to being the best person that I possibly could be. And then my wife just elevated that. I look back at that all the time. I think about where I am professionally in my career. And I think to myself, if it wasn't for Julie, I don't think that I would have pushed myself to get here. And it's a weird thing to say. And so I think some people have a problem saying that, because they're like, well, I mean, do you not have like a high opinion of yourself? Do you not have feel like you have a high sense of like self worth? And it's not that. It's just realistically understanding that Julie brings out the best qualities in me, and as good a reason for me as any to get rid of all of my bad habits, to rid myself of all the things that I think were not helping me. And I think in a good marriage, people pull that stuff out of each other,
Hmm.
and it's certainly I think it's certainly the most important. Whether it's the best or the worst, depending on who you marry and what situation you're in. Like you said, you're getting married now, and you maybe weren't ready to do that 4 years ago, and that makes sense. That's why that's maybe one of the biggest burdens of people in medicine and dentistry is the career path is so long to get to a point where you feel like you're financially stable or ready to do it, mentally ready to do it. That by then you're in your 30 or whatever the case may be. But uh, you've got to be ready, and the person that you're going to marry has to be a person who's going to push you forward, right? Motivate you. And Julie's an inspiration to me. She I don't know, man. That girl just, like, she eats excellence for breakfast. I don't know. she's
It's
kind
excellent.
of
I
a
love it.
she's kind of a machine, dude. So I sit in the spotlight all the time, but I mean, I always say it. It's really Julie back there working all the working
Makes
everything out.
sense.
It's important.
It's funny, like you say that, and it's like, I mean, my future wife is like that too. But when you mention Julie, I always think of Zunish.
You think what?
Zunish is the same eating excellence for breakfast.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, dude, your sister's terrifying.
I know.
Your sister is the your sister. Well, you know that your sister came to shadow me first,
Yeah.
and it's I never had any doubt about the only thing I thought to myself was like, is Zunish gonna go into dentistry? Like, first off, she went into ortho, and it's like, well, 100%, right? Like, she's very, very type A about certain. It was either going to be like ortho or, like, I feel like endo for her, because she's very, very type A. She's very, very exact about things. it seems like Zunish doesn't really want to get her hands dirty, so she's like, I'll do the old
No.
thing. I'll bend the wires, or I'll have people bend the wires. I'll tell people how to bend the wires for me. But she's either going to do that or she's going to be like a brain surgeon. I don't know, man. But
Oh, 100%.
she's
Dude,
very she's like
there's times like I will show her photography, like things like because obviously ortho they train in photography, like that's what they do.
yeah,
And I showed her a couple pictures. She's like, it's okay. I'm like,
yeah,
okay. Like, what does
yeah,
that mean? And she's like, well, you didn't do this here, you didn't do this here, you didn't do this here. I'm like, oh, okay. All right,
yeah,
teach me. I was like, because
yeah.
I apparently I don't know anything. I was like, teach me type it. And I'm just like, okay. But and then I look back at my photography, I was like, man, she's actually not wrong.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Having like somebody like that who can be critical and honest is very very valuable, man. And she's it's Zunish is great, dude. I haven't talked to her in a little while too. I'm sure she's absolutely killing it. But
Yeah, she's knee deep in ortho. Like it says it's miserable, but I said it's residency, it's gonna be miserable.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
That's the way it is. But yeah, that's it, man. I mean, you'll you know you marriage is it's the best thing and it's the hardest thing too. But but I'll tell you this, and this is my last thing about marriage. But 3 weeks before I got married, I had a patient in the chair and. I told him that I was getting married later in the month, and he said, "Oh, congratulations, my wife and I have been married." I think at that point it was like 45 years or something like that. It was a long
wow.
time. And I said, "Wow, man." I said, "Well, you tell me what's the secret to like a healthy marriage? Like what makes it work, you know?" And he said, "It's a lot easier when you marry your best friend." And
Hmm.
I've never forgotten that because he's right. I mean, sometimes Julia and I drive each other crazy, and you and your wife are going to continually drive each other crazy. You probably already do, and that's fine. But nothing will humble you more. And if you marry the right person, it's not like, well, I'm kind of sick of them right now. Like you just always really want to be around that person because it's a completeness, it's a wholeness. Even when you're driving each other crazy, there's a completeness there, man. I know Julie probably almost better than I know myself, which is really weird, and she knows me definitely better than I know myself.
Yeah.
Um, you know, it's cool, but it's a journey.
It's super funny you say that because it's like I'll act some I'll do something subtly different and I didn't realize it and she'll realize it about me and she's like, what's wrong? I'm like, nothing. And it's like, no, you're hiding something. I'm like, what? You're doing something different. I'm like, what the heck? And then I'll have to think about it. I'm like, ah, yeah, this did happen today. How the heck did you know? Like,
And women are so perceptive, man, about stuff like that. They feel everything before guys do. So it's
yeah.
just like it's very humbling for me. Julie will tell me something, and this will come with time, man. You'll find a lot of times it's better to maybe my instincts when I was in my late 20s, when Julie and I were still much more newlywed, was to just argue and try to argue my case. And I've learned over time to maybe wait a few minutes and just think about it in my head and oh, you know what? She's got a point. So
That's fair.
so that's but it's a blessing, man.
It's a blessing. Yeah,
I'm very,
absolutely.
very excited for you, bro.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. So, Jose, last two questions. My
Yeah, yeah.
first of the last two is when you die, Jose, what do you want it to say on your tombstone and why?
I want I want my tombstone, and these are things that kind of happen in a flash in your mind, right? And then you can complicate it by thinking about it, but usually the first thing that comes to mind is honestly is usually the most honest. And I'd like to have really good adjectives in front of the words husband and father, right? Devoted husband, loving father, whatever the case may be. However it is that, because at the end of the day, man, you have patience, you have a reputation, you have a career, you have hobbies, but the people who are going to remember you the most, the people to whom you are going to be the most important, the people who are going to be at your funeral and who are going to visit your tombstone, the people who are going to keep you alive in their memories are your family, your spouse, your kids, your grandkids, and that's how you live on at least for a little while on this earth after you go, right? And then
Hmm.
you get far enough out, and then poof, we're all kind of gone from existence, so to speak.
Yeah.
I mean, so to me, that's it. And that again, that says something to me. It's like, hey, the dentistry is great. I love it. I love the career that I have. I love the business. I love my team. I love my patients. I love the work that I'm doing. You know, it's my family is that's the thing that's going to be there at the end. And if I don't have it, what do I have? So that's how I would probably. I haven't gotten I haven't figured it out verbatim yet, but that's more or less how it's going to pan out for me. I hope.
A rough sketch. Hey, and that works, man. That absolutely works. And then my last question is, who is Jose in one word?
Who's Jose in one word? Faithful man. In the sense that, and I've come to find this out, Ahad, in so many different ways. No matter how high the highs are, and no matter how low the lows are, there's a purpose to every single thing. And I have faith that my life is going to work out exactly the way that it was intended to work out. My expectation is, my hope, my faith is that I will leave this place hopefully a little bit better than I found it.
Yeah,
So that's it, man.
I like it. I like it. I think I stole that one from you because I always tell people like my thing is I just want to leave it better than when I first entered the earth. That's it.
That's
Very
it.
straightforward stuff.
That's it, man.
But Jose, thank you so much for your time today, man. Like it's always just a good conversation, man, and I always feel like I learned something from you.
Oh man, I always love talking to you, Ahad. You're a great guy, man. I'm so proud of you. Like that's the other thing I love about teaching is that like I love being able to talk to people who are coming up after me and then seeing how you guys just keep raising the bar, dude. So keep doing what you're doing because it makes me look good.
Always, man. Always. All right. For everyone else that's watching at home, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Mind Body Roots. And until next time, my friends. Thank you.